Welcome back to episode 4 of the Be Better podcast. I'm your host, Harrison Orr, and in this podcast, we talk about every which way we can in how to be better, 1% by 1%. And I want to be able to bring guests on to show you guys and help you guys to be better in your health, in your wealth, in your relationships, in every single way that you possibly can through our experiences, our knowledge, and everything that we've cultivated to give to you so that you can have the lesson without the scar and just be better faster. So in this episode, I want to talk about stress, the beautiful thing of stress that I guess we can never get away from, right? I know whenever you look at stress, you YouTube stress or you hear people talking about stress, it's how to manage your stress, right? And a lot of people that I speak to, like in the coaching space, it's like this mission of wanting to avoid stress. Right? Like, how do I reduce my stress? How do I get rid of these things that are stressing me? And I don't entirely agree with that viewpoint. I don't agree with that way of going about it, right? Because essentially, first of all, stress is a necessary part of life, right? It's necessary for us to grow. Like, you go to the gym and you have to stress your muscle out essentially for it to grow, for it to get stronger, for it to get bigger, which is desirable. That's why most people are in the gym. And even if you could eradicate all stress from your life, it would be so fucking boring. It would be so repetitive, so mundane that you would find ways to stress yourself out. That's why a lot of people end up with anxiety, because they don't have enough stress in their life, constructive stress. So their brain's like, cool, let's come up with some challenges to make this interesting. Let's make it spicy. Give you something to fucking worry about. And so it's, in my opinion, more about instead of instead of avoiding stress, it's how do we respond to stress? How do we deal with the stress so that it becomes constructive, and that we have more of the stress that is desirable and less of the stress that is undesirable, right? And what I consider desirable stress is stress that forces us to grow, like physical stress when you're exercising, or cognitively demanding forms of stress, like when you're trying to learn things, because that is frustrating, which is a form of stress, and it forces you to adapt and then overcome that challenge or that new skill set, that new thing that you're trying to conquer. And less of the stress that is self-induced, like digestive stress from eating shitty foods, cognitive and physical stress because we've had a shitty night's sleep, sleep deprivation and too much alcohol. And obviously, I guess it's less controllable for certain people, but financial stress or relationship stress, which can be improved by your perspective, your mindset, your level of communication, all that kind of stuff. But then focusing on those elements, because we know that if we are weak, if we cannot communicate, if we don't have much money, then our chance of having those stresses forced upon us against our will is much higher. Right? And so one thing that I've noticed recently, or I've been reminded of recently, is the impact of things in our environment external to us that play on our subconscious, I'll call it, level of stress. So I just got back from Bali. I was there for just over 2 weeks, and I've been tracking my sleep through an Oura Ring for 5 years now. The reminder came up the other day, a little notification. And I track my sleep quality, I track my heart rate variability, and that is the marker that I'm most intrigued by, right? That's the marker that I gauge a lot of my stuff on, like sleep, like, okay, cool, get more sleep, that was good, that needs work, whatever. But my heart rate variability is the one that I allow to influence my decisions for the day, right? Not so much sleep, but I guess that plays into heart rate variability, but mostly that. Because heart rate variability is a direct marker as to the health of your nervous system. So if you have a low heart rate variability, it means that there is a shorter amount of time between each heartbeat, which means that you are less recovered, that you are less equipped to handle a stressful day, to handle higher outputs. So for example, if you're an athlete or someone who needs to perform very well, if you have a low according to your normal numbers, then the chance of you hitting a PR or a PB, or having a great performance that day are significantly lower than if you were to have a high heart rate variability on that same day. And so from my reading and my understanding, unfortunately, there's not like a range that I can give you to say, between 50 and 70 is great, this is low, that is high. It's very much up to the individual. And so from my years of coaching and seeing other people's numbers and the books I've read, it's very much about looking at your numbers, whether you've got a Whoop strap or an Oura ring, you need a device to basically measure this. It's not like a heart rate where you can kind of take it yourself, unfortunately. But then look at the numbers that you get and say, okay, cool. Well, over the last month, my range is between 40 and 60. So anything above 50, I'm pretty good. I'm on the upward trend. I'm doing well. Anything below that, and need to kind of work around that. But one thing that I've noticed over the last couple of weeks being away, I've inherently done two things, or been forced upon two things. One, less time off screens, because we were running the retreat over in Bali. We run a men's retreat over in Bali once a year to help guys transform their life, their business, their health, their relationships, their entire identity. And it was like phenomenal. We've already half sold out the next year because guys loved it that much. So we ran that event, which took up all my energy and all my time. So wasn't on screens, was great. Also being in a foreign country, don't have data. So much less on portable screens. Like wasn't on my phone because there's fucking nothing to do when you don't have Wi-Fi or reception. And that plus the sun, plus the steps, plus, all the other things that come into a holiday like that, all the time outside. I think that's a big one as well. Massively reduced my stress, increased my heart rate variability. A few days I got over the 100, which normally I'm sitting around 50 to 60 is decent for me. And to be double what I normally am, insane. And I was feeling good, smashed, like feeling amazing in the gym. Recovery was on point and was eating much more than I usually would. I put on 3 kilos over the 2.5 weeks, and looking at myself in the mirror, still have the same level of definition. Like wild. And so the reason that I say all that is a reminder that spend time outside. And it might seem trivial, and you might think, what the fuck am I doing outside? I've got stuff on the screens I need to do all this. But if you can take a call outside, if you can, whether it's you need to post on social media for your business, or you need to respond to emails, or you need to do something else, take it outside. Having time on the earth, getting some fresh air, getting some natural sun on your face, on your skin, on your body, and just breaking that, that habit of being inside all the time, spending more time outside, I guarantee will have a profound effect on your mood, on your energy, on your sleep, on your nervous system, on your stress levels as a whole. You're still doing stuff out there. Bonus points if you can find time to be outside, not on screens, getting your steps, eating your lunch, eating a meal out there. Take smoko, go have your brain juice or your coffee or your water, whatever it is. Go sit outside, have it out there. And just that break in environment can be massive for your perspective, for your creativity, for your mood, for everything. Like a good analogy that I use for a lot of guys when I'm trying to iterate the importance of the change of environment on your stress levels, on your perspective, on your habits even, is like, have you ever heard stories of people that they move locations? So maybe they're going to be like a nomad, work from their laptops, all that kind of stuff, and then maybe they move to Bali, or they change jobs and get relocated, or change sectors and get relocated to a different city, or they just move for whatever reason, and they have a new gym to train at, they have a new house, they have a new work potentially, they have all these new things, and they completely switch their life around. If they're not already into their fitness, they get into their fitness and they lose weight and they look amazing. They have a new circle of friends that align with the direction that they're going, and they are massively successful in the business or in their work that they've moved for. And they make all these changes and they just seem unstoppable. They seem like a new person. It's because subconsciously in our environment, we have all these cues that tell us what to think, when to do things, how to feel, how to respond to things, and we're not even aware of them. And so when we get to change locations, we get to move, we get to set those habits, those responses, those emotions from a conscious mind. We get to decide even, as a better word, sorry. Cool, how am I going to start my day? How am I going to respond when I get a stressful message? How am I going to do this? When you're in a nice place like Bali, or you're away somewhere, you're in a lovely environment, and you get a stressful message, you have something stressful sitting at your desk, you're like, you know what, I'm going to go sit in the garden for 5 minutes. You go sit in the garden and you're like, wow, this is actually a pretty cool place. Looking around, looking at the birds, looking at the trees, looking at the environment, looking at everything, and you think, what importance does that email or that douchebag on the other side of the screen actually have on life? If I get rid of him as a client, or if this job doesn't work out, if this relationship doesn't work, if anything like that, does that change any of this beauty around me or anything in life, significantly? Not really. And then so when you can take things from that perspective, what impact does it really have on the grand scheme of things? It reduces that stress massively. I used to be a extremely overwhelmed, anxious, clingy partner. I was that guy that was, what they now call kind of almost toxic masculinity, which is not masculinity, they're actual feminine traits, but discussion for another time. I was that guy that was, when she would go out, what are you doing? Where are you? Who are you with? When are you coming home? You're sitting there holding your phone, waiting for those 3 little dots to light up, staring at your phone, and you're going into overdrive in your head, stressing the fuck out, and, almost in tears from frustration. And then you're just this anxious, overwhelmed, jealous, controlling mess of a human. And does that really make the person want to come home anytime soon? Not really. If they do, it's out of sympathy, out of pity, or they just fucking give up. They're like, fuck, I'm sick of this guy. It's not worth the night. It's not worth it. I'll just fucking go home, so he'll shut up, so I'll just give in. That's one option. Other option, they just ignore you, and then your mind goes into overdrive and come home and you have a fight anyway. Other option is you create a self-fulfilling prophecy, and they think, fuck that guy, go out, get more drunk, and out of frustration and avoidance of you, actually do end up more intoxicated than they planned on the dance floor with that guy that's hotter, that's more confident, the guy that you catastrophized that was going to be there and take your woman, and then she cheats on you, and it happened. But did it happen because you were worrying about it and foresaw it coming? Or did it happen because you stressed out, pushed her away, and then you made it come true because of your actions? Don't know. And so when I was in that situation, luckily enough, with the partner that I'm with now, my wife, I was able to check myself and change my behaviors and actions before it got to the point of pushing her away and that prophecy fulfilling itself. But I got to the point of, okay, what happens if, right now I'm pushing her away. That's going to happen eventually. But okay, let's say that does happen. Worst case scenario, she finds someone hotter than me, better than me, moves on. Then what happens? Okay, maybe it hurts for a little bit, but am I going to die? No. Does it stop me from living the rest of my life? Am I amputated, or am I never able to work a job again? No. What is the real impact here? Not much. And so really, even if that does happen, is it the worst case scenario? Not really. One of the things that boosted my confidence the most was actually being cheated on. I was overseas, got cheated on, came back, and that actually made me the most confident one of the biggest things that's influenced my confidence, because I thought I never want to be like that person, because I thought I was better than her. Weird way to think about it, but it massively helped. And then so now I have this energy of, well, I'm doing me. You're here because you want to be, not because I'm forcing you to be. And that has drastically changed my life, because if someone's going to cheat on you, they're going to do it whether you like it or not. If someone's going to leave you, they're going to do it whether you like it or not. You can lose everything in life. You can lose your partner. You can lose your house to the weather, to being bankrupt. Or you can lose your business to being bankrupt, to the weather, to things outside of your control. So all those things can be taken away. So stressing about them and holding them on and trying to control them so fucking tight is not a very good use of your energy. And so being able to acknowledge, cool, I can't control those things. I can control me, my skill set, my experiences, and do the best that I can for those things to want to stay with me, if it's a person within that control, or put myself in the best possible position where the universe allows and wants me to have those things to be successful and to live that life. And that perspective has served me the most. And so I know I went on a side tangent there, but we started on stress, but I hope that helps for anyone that's suffering a little bit of relationship stress or anxiety at the moment, to shift that frame. Because if you have that with or without you type of energy, then that becomes extremely attractive. And it puts you back in control, not somebody else. But then coming back to that level of stress, right? We can't always control stress. Control what you can control. So external things like your environment, cool, we can place ourselves in certain things which can help reduce our stress. But then when it comes to how we view things, I like to use what I call a kaleidoscope frame, right? Which is, you know, that kaleidoscope you have it as a kid where you're looking through it and there's all these little colored crystals at the end of it, and you look at a light source, you know, it's not the sun hopefully, but like a light, and then you're like, oh, that's cool. You see all the different colors and you change it, and then the patterns change. You're like, that's so cool. And then you change it again and again and again, and different colors, different patterns. And then you do that for ages. I find when something is stressing me out, a situation, a person, an event, my own actions, my own behaviors, finding a different lens to view that through that serves me better, that enables me to either take action if it's something that I'm procrastinating or something that I'm avoiding, or to just see it in a light, to feel a way towards it that's more constructive. Because me feeling upset, avoiding something, angry, frustrated, anxious, like, okay, in the short term, those things those feelings might be useful. They might be trying to tell me something. But if I'm still ruminating on those feelings and it's stuck with me, then those feelings aren't constructive. If it's preventing me from taking the action or doing the thing to be able to move on and learn the lesson from that. And so when I'm in that situation, trying to find that silver lining, find that different frame that enables me to change the way that I feel about something, about the event, and consequently take action to improve that situation, right? Because I can't change the event, I can't change the person, but I can change the way that I think about it, which changes the way that I feel about it, which changes the level of action that I take towards it, right? So if there's an event in your life, a person right now, I want you to run this exercise with me. If maybe you're feeling really angry or frustrated at this person, right? They've said something, they've done something, and it's maybe making you anxious or making you angry. Ask yourself, what else could it be? Right? The way that you're feeling about it right now is making you angry and frustrated. What else could it be? What else could they have meant? Why else could they have said that thing or done that thing that would change the way that you feel about that person, about that action? Because there's a reason that we do anything, and it's not always the reason that you think, right? Every person in life has their filters, has their reasons, and has experienced something in life that determines their behavior towards something, right? They've been faced with an experience before, and they've either responded in anger or said some hurtful things, or they've done something in that moment which has essentially kept them alive, right? It's pushed away the danger, it's kept them alive, and even though it might not be a pleasurable experience, or they may not even like that response, their subconscious mind says, cool, that reaction kept us alive, noted, next time we see something similar, let's do that again, because it kept us alive, right? And so unless they are actively working on changing that, or they have another reason to change that behavior or that response, then they're going to continue to respond that way. For example, in traffic, right? You ever been cut off and then you get angry at this person like it was a personal attack? You're like, fuck this guy, what are you doing? And then you almost want to like, drag race them and just like catch up to them, give them the finger, how pissed off you are at them. But do you think they really saw that person, they really saw you in that driver's seat and thought, I'm going to ruin that guy's fucking morning, speed up, cut you off, maybe throw a finger up and just like as a personal attack? No. So what's a different way they can view that? Maybe his wife is about to give birth in a hospital and he's trying to get there as fast as he can to see the birth of his child. Or maybe his grandmother's about to die in hospital and he's trying to get there to see her last breath. Or maybe he's just a shit driver. He's got nothing to do with you. And when you play that game of all those other scenarios of what else could it be, you realize the initial response that you thought it was, the chance of that actually being accurate is probably pretty slim. So if you're stuck in a mindset of feeling angry, frustrated, anxious, feeling an emotion that doesn't serve you, that you want to change towards something, I hope that kaleidoscope frame and the what else could it be question serve you. And so the last tip or tool that I'm going to leave you with today on stress is something that I have not come up with, but it's one of the most effective instant tools that you can use to reduce your stress anytime, anywhere, any place, for free, very fast. And so this is the power of the breath. And before you roll your eyes like, oh, another fucking breath work, this is the one type of breath work that has actually been studied to reduce your stress and keep it reduced for the entire day. Not just at the time of doing it, because let's be real, most breath works or a lot of practices in the moment can reduce your stress. Whether you journal or you meditate or you do, resonance frequency breathing, or you do box breathing, or you just do slow exhales or fucking yoga, meditation, whatever it is, there are a lot of practices which in the moment can help reduce your stress. But then as soon as you go back to that stress, the thing that caused it, whether it's back to the office, back to the partner, back to the situation that stress started in, you go back right to where you left off. And so that's not a very effective protocol to reducing that stress, because you haven't really done anything. You've just wasted 20 minutes. So we want to be able to control that stress, bring our emotions down to a neutral state, because when our emotions are high, our logic is low, right? Because we act emotionally. It's not a very good place in business or in a lot of things really to make decisions or to have a constructive conversation if you're very charged. So we want to neutralize that back to a neutral standpoint, and then we can have constructive conversations and take action and move on to resolving that. And so that breath work that I'm referring to is something called the physiological sigh. And if you have a baby, you would have seen them do this. Or if you've seen someone cry hysterically, you've seen them do this. And it's a double inhale followed by a slow exhale. And so if you've seen or you've heard someone, maybe they're crying or they're stressed out, and then just involuntarily, they just go, that's your nervous system just trying to balance things out. We're too stressed, we're too high, we're too on edge, we're too all over the place. Let's okay. Just calm things out. And so you can do this for as little as 3 to 5 of those breaths. Ideally, inhales through the nose. 3 to 5 of those. Or if you really want to supercharge this, set a timer, do it for 5 minutes straight. You don't have to worry about counting the exhale, doing any holds or anything like that. Just set a timer for 5 minutes and just on repeat. You can do it in the car, you can do it sitting outside, you can do it in the morning, at night before bed. Personally, I notice a increase by at least 10% every night that I do this before bed for 5 minutes. Sitting on the balcony, just doing this before bed. You can obviously do it in the middle of the day. If you've had a stressful morning, you can do it at the start of the day. If you've got stressful meetings or something that you know is going to trigger you coming up and you want to go into that at a neutral state to be able to handle that, cool. And the beautiful thing about breath work like this is you can't overdose on it. You can't do too much. If 5 minutes isn't enough, do it for an hour. Do it for 5. Do it at the morning, in the middle, and the end of the day. It's not going to hurt. But it will hurt if you don't do it. Because then you'll react emotionally, you'll get stressed out, you won't sleep very well. The next day you'll be less recovered, higher chance of brain fog, higher chance of reacting emotion ability, lower, drive, lower willpower, like all those things. So at the least, I'd suggest doing it before bed, but you can do it any time of the day, do it multiple times, see which works best for you, which has the greatest impact. And that's it. That wraps up this episode of the Be Better podcast. Again, my name is Harrison North. Thank you very much for listening. And my big plea to you is please don't let this be another bout of mental masturbation that you listen to and think, oh, that was cool, and then just do nothing about. I want these podcasts, I want these lessons, these tools, everything that I share with you to be of somewhat value that they can change you, even if it's by 1%. Whether you just go and practice that breath work now, or you view that kaleidoscope, that stressful event that you're facing at the moment through that kaleidoscope frame, or you go and spend more time outside, whatever it might be, change something. Or if any of those things don't feel attainable right now, at least drop a comment, leave a review on this podcast, share it with someone else who you think is stressing out right now and can do with some of these tips to bring things down so that they can think clearer, act better, and just feel and perform like their best. And so if you wanted to get in contact, I'll leave my Instagram handles and contact info in the show notes. But other than that, have an amazing day. Don't forget, be better. I'll see you guys soon.